Welcome to Padres Talking Padres, the only podcast that talks about the Padres that are actual Padres. With me tonight is Jerry. No Jay today. He's got family in town, so he just said, "You know what? At least he let me know."
Yeah,
This
at least he let
not
you
like
know this
last week.
time. Yeah.
Like he goes, "Well, is Jerry gonna be mad at me?" I go, "No." I go, "Because you let me know."
I'm
He goes, "Oh,
furious. I'm
okay,
furious, Jay.
yeah."
So,
Furious Jay. Well, the Padres, spring training's going pretty good. Hey, Michael, how's it going?
Michael,
The pitching is doing really well.
not unusual though. I mean,
Yeah,
spring training historically, the pitcher's always ahead. I always find that funny. You think that the pitchers would be behind
yeah.
because they're loosening up the arms and all that kind of stuff. I don't know if it's the same today. You tell me. I don't know any different, but I think the pitchers are getting ready earlier than spring training. I
Well,
know
they do
you,
report.
Darvish, and Joe Musgrove. I know last year were pitching and throwing in like January because they knew.
And
Well,
Musgrove is there.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Just leading them some drills and stuff like
Yeah.
that. Yeah, but it's inevitable. Yeah, the hitters are always seem to be behind a little
I mean,
bit.
I know they do show up earlier, like a week
Yeah,
earlier normally, but it's just, but it's fun to see that your pitchers are pitching well. I mean,
yeah,
you know,
yeah.
um, it's
Yeah, a
just nice to see.
little hiccup today with Tom Cosgrove,
Yeah,
which
I think he's done. I mean,
I don't want to make too much of one, but to your point, he did not have the year that he had in 2023 last year. So,
no, in every game he's given up runs, and
yeah,
so he's pitched. I mean, I just think he's a unfortunately, was it 2 years ago he was just money,
yeah, 2023. Yeah,
but I think there's tape on him, and he only has a couple pitches, and you just have to wait for that one that lobs over the middle of the plate, and
yeah.
unfortunately they smack him. I mean, I like him. I was hoping. I said, okay, let's revert back to that 2023 form, and let's have an even stronger bullpen, but I don't know.
Well, the
I
thing is, though, Jack, is you have to start breaking it down. And I know we still got another 3.5 weeks of spring training, but you start not just from a bullpen competition, but lefty versus righty competition. And like it or not, you got Matsui, you got Peralta already pretty much penciled in, and then Moreholm. So you got three lefties already, and you can
yeah,
you can get to a certain point where you go, okay, is there room for another one? Most pitching staffs carry 12. Well, you got your five starters, you got seven bullpen guys. Well, that's three lefties right there. And then you got
right.
Estrada, Suarez. Everything I've heard and read says that there's really only one opening on the bullpen left to fill. And there's one starter left to fill. And there's five guys going for the starter and, half a dozen going for the last one, the relievers. So then you got to get down to who's got options left. And I don't have that in front of me and it's hard to find that kind of stuff, but yeah, it's tough. I mean, that's what you want, right? That's what Schultz always says. It's great to have competition rather than just handing somebody a job.
Oh
So
yeah, that's a sign of a good team. I mean, that's we remember the days where it's like, okay,
are you walking and breathing?
yeah,
Okay.
we got
Yeah.
five guys walking and breathing. Can you chew gum too? All right, you can be the starter.
Yeah.
I mean, there were some. I mean, we've talked about it a number of times, and if you're a new Padre fan, you probably don't understand. But there were some lean years, and you'd have
Yeah.
guys from Double A coming up, and it's like, okay, this guy, and and they
Yeah.
just never made it. But it's good to because Kolek had a good game the other day.
Yeah.
Waldron went 3 innings today, so it's like I got to think he's the fifth starter.
I think it's going to be hard. And
You
and,
think
and
so?
my gut is that because he's left-handed, and we do not have a left-handed starter.
No.
And look, I'm just guessing. I think they're going to take the best pitcher, lefty or righty. When it comes to starters, you're going to take the best pitcher. You're not just going to go, oh well, oops, sorry about that. We're going to have a lefty, But I think he's got that going for him. But the other thing is you usually need 6 or 7 starters, So I would not be surprised to see Kolick, Waldron, and we just said them. Kolick, Waldron, and Vasquez down in the minors to start the year. It wouldn't surprise me one bit. We alluded to it a couple podcasts ago when Jay was here. Was the Padres have a lot of off days early in the season, and the likelihood of needing a sixth starter very often in the first month and a half is a lot less. So
yeah, I agree. But has Hart pitched yet?
No, he's been in the background. I'm reading Michael's notes here.
Yeah. I was responding to him as you were talking. I said, "Don't stop yet, Jerry. I'm not done typing." But yeah,
no, he's pitched in the background, but most of the starters have the real starters have. We have not seen Darvish. I think Darvish is supposed to pitch in the next couple of days here. Not surprising, because usually about the first 10 days of spring training, you see a very, very minute sprinkling of veteran players even taking a couple of bats and then, going doing their work.
yeah.
Haven't seen Tatis yet. Machado, I think, has had like 2 or 3 at bats. Bogarts, a handful. Arias played today, but Merrill was off. I mean, so I don't think we've seen more than 1 or 2 regulars in the lineup at any spring training game, and that's going to change as we get to the week away here. So
What impressed me about Merrill is there's a lot of things, but people that are going to the game saying once he's out of the game, he's still in the dugout.
They had him on radio talking about that. Yeah,
he doesn't go back to the locker room. He stays in the dugout. I mean, this kid just loves baseball and loves being around it. I mean, that's just, because most people, when they're done, but you even look at Joe Musgrove. Here he's a guy recovering from Tommy John surgery,
right?
And he's out there leading drills. I mean, that's a guy.
Right.
When people complain about his contract, I said, well, he did pretty well for us so far on that contract, and he got hurt. What are you going to do? But he's such a, he was working out. He was, leading workouts this year, and he has, group outings, to Aztec games and stuff like that. That's a guy you want on your team. So anyway,
Merrill commented about staying, and because I asked him on the radio sports show here, and he says, well, there's a couple of things. He goes, that particular game, he says, yeah, these are guys I played in the minors with, so and stick around and chat with them and encourage them, and and all that kind of stuff. But you're right. I mean, he's said it. He's what was your off season like? It was boring. Like I miss it. He says we got a week away, and he's like, what am I going to do? Because this is what I do. I play baseball. It's what I love. And
he's a kid.
They even asked him. It's like, did you watch the playoffs? And he goes, oh yeah, it's baseball. Yeah, I watched it all. So
had to be hard.
Good for him. Well, you know what? They always say that, Jack, if you kind of, you don't need to want to dwell in the misery, but if you don't experience it, you got to almost want to hurt a little bit so that you don't want it to happen again. And when things go wrong, that's to me being the stand-up guy, the guy who takes the post interview and just like, hey, you know what? They were better than us, and I'm going to stand up here and answer the hard questions, but you got to like that about somebody. He seems like a really stand-up kid. I feel very confident about his future. He's really looking good, and he's got the right amount of respect too. He's talking about having Hayward next to him, and just like, oh yeah, man, I'm soaking it in. I'm not asking a whole lot of questions. I'm letting him kind of preach to me, kind of thing. So,
well, I think we talked about before. He definitely took the Crash Davis how to talk to the press, because he does say all the right things. I mean, he just does. I mean, but that could be he's just a smart, and he was raised right.
Oh, he's a mature kid. I mean, they're saying the same thing about DeVries and about Salas. It's like, Schultz said, it's like, if you didn't know that they were 18 years old, they don't talk like they're 18 years old.
No.
Well-mannered and, well-spoken, and they carry themselves well. And But yeah, I mean, it's not surprising because you hear it from too many people to know that it's that way. That this clubhouse is special. That the core, the Musgroves, the Machados, the Tatises, and all these guys.
Darvish.
This is a clubhouse that resonates with confidence, but also with respect to each other, and it's a fun group to watch. So
yeah, and they're fun to cheer for too.
Yeah.
I mean, I know people don't like Tatis that don't, and Machado, but I go, maybe I wouldn't like them if they were on another team either. But getting to see them every day, it's just one of those things. You go, privileged.
You know what? Jack, I get on my pulpit a little bit. I won't stay on it very long, but man, people got to be a little bit more forgiving about what people did 5, 10, even 3 years ago. These are young. People are young. They make stupid mistakes. I challenge anybody to not look at a period in their life where they did something they're not real happy about or ashamed about, or went the wrong direction. Give it a rest. How many years does Machado have to be the guy that he is now before people forget the few things that he did when he was younger? Yeah, they didn't look good, bad looks and all that. Same thing with Tatis. Whether he did it on purpose, whether he didn't, whether it was the cream, whatever. The bottom line is, it was a couple of years ago. Motorcycle, a couple of years ago. Let him grow. Just let him grow.
And to me, he has. He went to right field. He didn't want to.
Yeah.
And if at first he pouted, I mean, he wasn't happy about it, but eventually, I think he saw, wow, I could be a Hall of Famer in the outfield too.
Yeah,
it's just like, yeah, you have talent. You could be the best right fielder in baseball. I don't think he ever would have been the best shortstop in baseball.
Yeah, I don't know.
I mean,
that guy can do about anything. I mean,
he does, but it just his throws sometimes just get.
It's like Kevin Acee said, the guy had a broken leg last year and still put in a second half, or when he returned, an MVP type stats.
Oh yeah.
So you look at the three guys behind you, it's all about the health. Yeah. I have all the confidence in the world. I talked to a couple of guys at a casino that I go to. We talk a lot of Padres, and we talked about these three gentlemen a lot. And it's pretty much everybody believes, hey, look, none of them have been healthy over the last couple of years. They've had, and yeah, I'm not talking aches and pains here because, as Manny says, nobody's ever 100%. He's right. But we're talking serious stuff, elbow surgery and shoulder surgery, and stress reactions and things like that. I mean, that's a big deal,
Yeah.
And you're playing 100.
And the surgery that Tatis had on his shoulder, because Bogarts had last year, he broke his collarbone, right?
Well, that was a motorcycle accident a few years ago.
No, Bogarts.
Bogarts. Oh, yeah. When is his wrist? I thought it was his wrist.
No, he has a chronic wrist problem that they can't fix. He takes a cortisone shot whenever he can. But he did something. Remember when he was in Atlanta? He dove for the ball and
that's right. Yeah.
Yeah. But with Tatis, he had a shoulder injury. Remember, it was 2022 where he just kept coming out of the games. Like his shoulder was killing him and all this different stuff. He had the same surgery as Bellinger. Yeah. And it took Bellinger a couple of years to come back from that surgery. And they said it would take a while for Tatis to come back. So if he's 100%, he can make a run for the MVP.
Yeah, no doubt.
He's just a special player. And like we've said 100 times, these three perform, the Padres will compete.
Well, and again, I'm not hanging it all on them because I think we're a lot more than them. I think
but they have to.
Yeah, they can say there's no doubt that those three are the guys you're paying the big bucks to do what they need to do. But you look at Arise and Merrill and Cronenworth, that and I'll kind of stop there because to me that's the kind of the core six where it's like, okay, Cronenworth has shown that he can drive in a lot of runs. He might strike out a little bit too much, but he can drive in runs. You got Arise who could just flail. Merrill's an up and comer. I mean, that's 6 really strong bats. So,
and then you have like you said, Campusano. He's changed his stance, I think, back to where he was when he was hitting well. I don't know why he changed his batting stance because it was awful.
Yeah.
But again, if he has so much potential. If he could just be half of what you want him to be,
Right.
you know, that's seven. Now that's seven guys in the lineup now, and now you just have to
Yeah.
fill the last two spots.
I have this gut that Campusano is going to be the backup. I think
You
it's
think
going.
so?
Yeah, I think it's going to be Diaz because they can't give up the defense, and they can afford to give up the offense. Now, granted, anytime any catcher, with the exception of somebody like a Higgy or back in the day Brad Ausmus and guys like that, you're going to have a snail on the path. So the challenge is where to hit Diaz. I'm guessing seventh, only because that way you can backload with a little bit more speed, whether it's Connor Joe and Hayward, or whether it's whoever hits. Our DH is probably going to hit ninth, which is
Well, you
fine.
could always, if
You know.
if that's the case, there's no reason you couldn't put Campusano at DH once in a while.
Yeah, but that's really slowing down. I mean, I think we have a lot more options than Campusano for DH. I really do. I mean, I was looking at this kid Forrest Wall, cup
Well,
of
he's not
coffee.
really. He's like 30, isn't he?
Yeah, but he had a cup of coffee with Atlanta for 2 years, and then
Maybe you
he
said
had.
kid.
Well, he's 29. Everybody's a kid to me, Jack.
I get it. I'm old. I'm old too. I get it. But at
I'm
baseball
just saying
years,
he's only had literally 2 years in the major leagues. So, not everybody's Jackson Merrill that comes up when they're 21 and
oh no,
22 and
I
all these
get it.
guys. There's a lot of these major leaguers start their career at 24, 25. So,
Well, that's the norm
but
because they want a lot of teams do that so they have more control
sure.
over the players.
Well, and then it's the big difference is whether or not they came from college or high school. So, generally speaking, high schoolers will get to the majors if they get to the majors at 22, 23, whereas guys who went to college, they don't get there until they're 24, 25. And generally speaking, the guys that are taken out of high school maybe have more of an upside, and people look at them and saying, you know what, he's not there yet. Salas, DeVries, I know they're international players, but the same concept.
DeVries,
But
defensively,
I just look at his wear and tear, I guess, more than anything. And so you look at and I'm not trying to make more of what it is, but I've heard a couple of radio guys and people talking about Forrest Wall and say this guy's really been impressive. I'm not going to be surprised if you have a little bit of a surprise for that 24th and 25th spot.
oh yeah. Plus,
Yeah,
Oscar Gonzalez has had a pretty good
Yeah.
spring so far too.
and
So
Ige, Rosario,
Yeah.
you got Gavin Sheets, you got Hayward, Gurriel. I mean, is a possibility. I think Gurriel, just quite honestly, AJ Preller brought in as insurance and maybe a little bit of incentive because you're paying him $140,000 to make these guys compete. I don't see. I see Connor Joe, Hayward, and Tyler Wade as definites. So you got two more spots available. And I think Rosario's looking like he's headed towards one of them. So I think, the competitions between Sheets and Gurriel and Forrest Wall and, whoever else it might be, Oscar Gonzalez. I mean,
and what's the other kid? The kid from Tijuana. I always forget his name. Tito.
Ornelas.
Ornelas.
Yeah.
I don't know why I can never remember that name,
but you got to remember too, he's no youngster, so I mean,
he's 24, 25.
Yeah. So I don't think they ever look at age. I really don't. I think they look at options more than they look at age. So, guys like Ornelas can, go back down. It's not going to hurt them, bring them up when you get some kind of injury as you go further down the line. So
do you see a chance that Connor Joe and Hayward don't make the team?
I don't think. I mean, I think they're pretty solid. I'd be surprised. I really would. I think now, could they go the same path as Carpenter and Cruz, where you get a couple months in and go, nah, it ain't working. You got a price tag on them that allows you to do that. You never want to just fritter away $1 million, but
right
at the same time, I think logically speaking, they're kind of on a shorter leash. I don't think it's like a 2-week leash. I think it's more of a hey, we'll give them a couple of months, and if one or both don't fit the bill, then maybe Ornelas is tearing it up in AAA or AA or wherever he's
right.
at.
We got to bring him up.
We got to bring him up, and that's the thing that I think that the Padres don't get enough credit for is that they built their depth by getting all these guys, and are hopefully hold on career kind of guys like Salas and DeVries and a couple other guys there, Bateman. Those are the future. Those are the guys that we don't have to bring them up now. You talk about old school Padres. It's like guys like Benito Santiago were brought up because we didn't have any other choice. McReynolds, Martinez, these guys were not necessarily ready.
Billy Allman.
Yeah. I mean, these guys, there's no David Clydes in there, but I mean, but sometimes, these younger, these non-rich clubs, is that how to say it? Probably. Yeah. You don't have any choice, so that's what you're going to fill your roster with. And I think the Padres through Preller have kind of back-ended it a little bit by saying, hey, we're going to bring in enough depth that we don't have to worry about robbing our minor league system before they're ready to go. And one last point on it, it's been proven with Tatis and with Merrill, guys like Machado are going to come and say, this guy needs to be on the team.
Yeah.
This guy needs to be here, because he did that with Tatis and he did it with Merrill. And, Schulte, he likes to talk to Machado. He makes no bones about it, man. He's like, yeah, I talked to Manny, and
Manny is got he doesn't get the credit because so many people hate him. Mm-hmm. He has a high baseball IQ. He makes plays
very high.
Smart. He makes, like I said, if I hadn't watched him every day, and I'd probably listen to negativity and say, okay, he's a great player, but he's a jerk, whatever. He's a smart baseball player. How we said Kim, I used to say Kim didn't have a high baseball IQ. Manny's IQ is off the charts. So if he says that player should stay, I'm backing him because he knows ball.
They were talking about that. They had Jesse Agler, who's the radio voice, and he was talking before the games, obviously, and he was on the morning sports show, and so I was listening to that. And Jesse Agler said he kind of went to the baseball IQ of Manny Machado, and they were talking about it. And he goes, "Yeah, I remember talking to Manny the night after they clinched with the triple play, and I went through it with him." And to hear him talk, he could, he went, hey, they tried to bunt the first couple of pitches. He says, would you have been where you were at? And he basically Jesse Agler just kind of in awe. Like he had thought of everything. He had thought of, hey, if I get the ball quick enough, I take one step back and I'm going to have time, but I'm going to have to hurry it. And I'm going to have to get it over there and it's got to be perfect. Good ball players do that. They don't sit out there and just twiddle their thumbs and what am I going to do with it if I get the ball hit? I think you've managed or coached Little League and stuff like that, and I used to preach that ad nauseum. I'm not going to hit the ball yet. I want you to think, what are you going to do if the ball's hit to you? In fact, my favorite story, Little League story. This is the opposite. So we're in the last inning. It's a tie game. There's one out and the bases are loaded, and we're out in the field. So I pull my infield in and talk to the pitcher, and I said, look, here's the deal. If you get a ground ball infield, you have to throw it home. You have to throw it home because minor leagues are not going to turn a double play, right? You have to throw it home. Okay, coach, yeah, we got to turn my back and get back. Pitch gets thrown. Ground ball is hit to second base. Where do you think he threw it? He threw it to first base. Game over. So, it's you need guys with the baseball IQ, and Manny's one of them.
Well, they just think he's over there blowing bubbles, but he's not. I mean, he's thinking about what to do. Yeah. Like I said, my dad was, my dad, knew my dad, so he was always be thinking. So that's how I probably overthought sometimes, but it was just that's how I learned how to play the game. But Michael says Stephen Collett looked good. Yeah, he did. Also, Johnny Brito, if he's healthy, could make it. They got Alvarez. I mean, you start to think but then I start thinking, okay, because I know it's got to be killing Preller, he hasn't made a trade in a while, so he's got to be thinking, I got to make a
Yeah.
trade. Does he make a trade? Do they, with this depth, perceived depth in the starting rotation? Okay,
I don't think the trade will be. Let's put it this way: it's not going to be a major one. I think every general manager at the last week looks at where they could use some help and where do I have extra. Preller makes a statement all the time: you can never have enough pitching. So I agree with Michael. Cole looks awesome, but he's a new starter. I've got him slated for AAA or AA, wherever because they're going to let him ramp up and pitch for a while.
he still needs to. I guess.
Well, he was a Rule 5 last year, so they
Yeah.
had to keep him on. And it's not that he didn't perform well, but let's give him a little bit of chance to actually to work up. And he's been studying Michael King and looking at him. So
he's been. I guess that's what he's been doing. He's been talking a lot with Michael King, been watching a lot of what he does, and if he can be as good as Michael King, that's gravy, right?
Well, and part of it is as a reliever, they come over and now you got to work on 4 or 5 pitches, not just the 1 or 2 that you just need for that 2 or 3 batter stint that you're going to be in. As far as Johnny Brito, I haven't seen anything that makes me feel comfortable with him yet. And I'm not going to sit here and say, like I know anything more than anybody else, but I would be surprised if he ends up as the 5th. I honestly, I think it's between Hart, Waldron, and Vasquez. If you want my honest opinion, I think those are the 3 that are fighting for the 5th job, and
like
they could go
Hart,
any direction.
The left. All right, what do you do with Waldron though? If he doesn't make the starter, I mean,
you to send him down to AA again, yeah, like they did last year. Yeah, I mean, they want him to keep pitching, so you don't need a knuckleballer in the bullpen.
No.
So and again, our bullpen is tight. We really don't. We just got 1 extra spot. It's like, and
unless they somehow trade Suarez, which I don't know if that's been rumored or not.
Yeah, I don't know. Everything I hear though, Jack, is that I don't think there's going to be a downgrade anywhere. I don't think that we talked about it a couple of weeks ago with the Pavetta signing. Oh, does that mean they're going to trade Cease? It's like no. Why would they go and buy that guy and then give away another starter? You just solved your shortage right there.
Right.
And honestly, I do see that 5th slot being like it has been in the last couple of years, where 6 and 7 come up every once in a while, 5 goes down.
Right.
I just don't. I'm not worried about it because I think we have options. If we were down to like 1 or 2 guys and that's all we got, then yeah, I'd be worried about it. But I think they have the latitude to be able to move guys around. And they're probably not going to keep an extra starter, but it looks like Sean Reynolds will probably start on the IL to start
he's got a foot issue?
Yeah, foot. He's walking boot, kind of stuff, and so. You're always going to have that kind of stuff. So, again, depth is good. You store them down in the AA.
What's his name? What's the guy we got from with Tanner Scott? Cohen?
Yeah, Hoeing.
Yeah, he hasn't pitched yet, has he?
Yeah,
he's got a shoulder problem, right?
Yeah, he's also had the shoulder problem, So, that's 2 spots that were really, I mean, yeah, if you're a reliever, you're like, oh, at least there's 2 spots I can maybe take, for now at least. So, no, this team looks good. I mean, for all the fretting everybody did in the off season, it's like, okay, you get the reality of what you're getting into, and you start, the pieces come together.
I think it was the frustration of watching the Dodgers just, they win a World Series and they go out and add $1 billion more, players, and you're like going, come on. I mean, it's just, and then you see the Padres not doing anything, and then Arizona made some improvements, San Francisco made some improvements. The Rockies are the Rockies, so we don't have to worry about them, except we struggle playing them. But I mean,
it's a tough division. I mean, it may be the toughest. I was talking to my son the other day, and he pointed out to Michael's delight that the AL East is probably just as tough. I don't pretend to know the AL East to that degree, but obviously the Yankees, Baltimore, Boston, and Toronto are all strong. Tampa Bay took a little bit of a year off last year. Toronto, the Yankees got a good rotation. The Boston's improved. But having said that, yeah, we're not the. I'm sorry, but we're not the NL Central. We play in a very, very competitive, tough division. Does that make us better as the year goes on? I think so. And I guess to our benefit, we only have to play 13 games against each of those teams. So, that no longer makes up about half your schedule. That it makes up 1/3. So, you get to play some of these other teams, and we'll see what's going on. But yeah, I mean, this is a good team. It's a good team, and I get, like you're right, Jack, that the frustration was there, because people wanted to see everything that they'd seen the couple of years.
Oh,
They
that's
had
true.
but they had Preller on in spring training, and they interviewed him, and he says, what we've done to get to where we're at, we're really happy now looking at the escalating prices that are being paid today.
Oh, yeah.
So he says, this is always the vision, because they asked him, has anything changed with your vision and everything? I don't think he would have said too much more, but he seems very sincere. Like, no, this is exactly the way we planned it. We got our horses. We got them early. We're going to ride that core, and we're going to add on when we can. But, those are our guys, the three standing behind you. It's like, those are our guys. That's the guys we went and got. We got them for lifetime contracts. We got other guys coming in and filling the bill, but he didn't make any apologies. Like, oh yeah, we made some competitive offers, and I know Higgy was one of them, because he even said when Higgy got signed, yeah, we thought we gave him a good offer, but he, good luck to him. He chose to go to the Rangers.
Good
I
hitters.
think all of us wish that's the one guy I wanted to keep. It really was the one. Well, Tanner Scott before he went free agent, but those are the two guys that I thought, wow. But Tanner Scott to me was, well, now you can trade Suarez. But seeing what Tanner Scott got, 4 years, $72 million, way overpriced. Way overpriced. I don't care if he's the closer, way overpriced. And Higgy, God love him, reasonable contract. I still wish we could have found a way to scrape enough to get him back.
Well, he was a very popular player, but then you got to start thinking, can he do it again?
Yeah, because he's an older player, right?
He's an older player. Plus, I think you pointed out early on, he was hitting that inside low pitch.
Yeah.
And we're like, why do they keep throwing it to him?
But I liked him because of his defense. He wasn't so slow that he clogged up the bases. And like my expectation of a catcher is, go out there and hit maybe 15 bombs, be really good defensively, and hit 230. You know what? I got low expectations, because to me, their main job is taking care of the pitching staff, and he proved that he did well at that. So
not everyone's Johnny Bench.
Well, and that's why I think Diaz is going to ultimately be the starter, because the guy's a good catcher. We got to hope that he kind of reverts back to his all-star year, more of a 240 hitter.
He always killed the Padres. Yeah. That's all I gotta say.
And honestly, give me the 240, and he's got some pop. So if he can jack your 15, and then we got ourselves a catcher. And I don't need my catcher to hit 300. I'd love for him.
Yeah.
But not everybody can be Andy Roshman or Johnny Bench. Yeah. Those days are well gone.
Yes.
Every year I look at the catchers who go to the All-Star game, and it's like, wow. Yeah.
Well, I've said for the longest time, I said the reason you don't see catchers, doing that, because most people that have talent don't want to be a catcher.
Yeah.
Because your career is going to be short. And and let's face it.
Well, you want to be able to walk when you get done playing too.
Not only that, but there's a lot of work involved in being a catcher.
Yeah.
You have to work with different pitchers. You call the game. You have to keep, you constantly have to. I mean, you should be doing that anyway. But if you're playing right field, okay, you can look in the stands, and you can, when you're a catcher, and plus that grind of squatting, standing, squatting, standing, squat. I mean, that takes
not for everybody. Yeah,
and
not for everybody.
And you see the balls that get tipped off, and hit you where there's no padding, stuff like that. People forget that ball's going 100 miles an hour.
Yeah.
That hurts.
Yeah, I've umped enough games and got hit by little leaguers throwing a fastball, and I can attest that even at 60 miles an hour, it still hurts.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it hurts. It's
Even when
painful.
it hits the mask, it still hurts. Yeah.
So I think you see a lot of people, a lot of players going, I don't want to be a catcher.
Yeah.
I don't want to be a catcher.
Yeah. It's not for everybody.
No.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm excited. I'm really looking forward to this season. You know, especially right now because there's nothing really going on. I don't follow the NBA.
Yeah.
Even though I have a hockey team here, since I no longer work in that type of business, I kind of just said, I just don't care.
Yeah. I was perusing. We kind of change the subject here a little bit. I was perusing what's left on the major league market as far as free agents. There's not much, but there's a couple interesting ones. And I'm not saying for the Padres. This is more of I'm kind of surprised. The three that really kind of come to my mind is Anthony Rizzo. And I know, he's been slowly going down the hill, but I'm still surprised that nobody has picked him up. Iglesias, again, a 35-year-old that played for the Mets, but pretty good doggone hitter,
Yeah.
But the one that really surprised me is Alex Verdugo is still out.
Yeah.
And it's like, this guy's 29. What is he, like usually there's somebody out there. It's like, I can
We should
fix
ask
that.
Mike.
Right.
We should ask Michael. I mean, because he was a Yankee last year. I always thought he was good defensively.
Yeah, I just really surprised. Those are the kind of guys, you sit there, you go, okay, I get it. We're not through spring training yet, but the Verdugo one's really, to me, a mystery. It's a head scratcher.
Maybe he wants more than people are willing to give him.
And that could be. Maybe they've gotten to that point where it's like, I've made enough money, or I've made a sufficient amount of money. I'm not going to backtrack, and I'm not going to do the Hayward thing. I'm not going to do the Connor Joe thing. You know what? Right. If I can't get my $4 million a year, then you know what? I'm done. Because sometimes, even though we love it, and we've talked about Merrill earlier about who just lives and breathes this stuff, some of these guys, I'm sure, after about, with playing high school and college and pros and everything, and they've made a lot of money, or even if they haven't made a ton of money, have gotten to the point where it's a grind. Like, okay, is this really what I want to do? And maybe they got other adventures or ventures that they can invest in, or that, that,
right.
Yeah. And, it's like, I don't really need to do this, and, look, I always put it this way, you work for a company, and, let's just say you're making $200,000 a year, and you get, you're 30 years old, and somebody says, well, you know what, about the best we can do is, we'll give you 100. And you're like, you know what? No, yeah, I think I can do better elsewhere, or doing something else. Not that 100's bad. But
the problem is, though, if you're 29 and you say, screw it, I'm just done.
Yeah.
How many people are going to pay you $2 million, $3 million a year?
That's true. But if you've got a lot of money in the bank, though, Jack, you can afford, I guess, and again, you can afford to do something that you really want to do. And these guys are all individuals, and maybe they have something that they really like, that
I agree,
but
unfortunately, I mean, I don't think baseball's as bad, but a lot of these players are bankrupt when they I mean, I forget which, is it basketball, where they're just, once they're done, their money runs out. Not everyone is Shaq, who didn't spend his, he lived off his endorsements, and all these people they get money, they go crazy, and
Well, I guess for a lot of these guys, they got financial advisors, hopefully. So,
yeah, hopefully.
Mr. Green.
Michael Green says, great insight, gents.
Thank you for the compliment, sir.
Do the Padres make the playoffs this season? Yes.
Yes.
If they can stay healthy.
Yeah.
But that's the key for any team. If the Dodgers don't have health, they're not making the playoffs.
I will, we're not going to make our picks because Jay would kill us, because he has to be here, and we usually do that the episode before we get to the start of the season. But I truly believe that it's going to be like it has been before, where it's going to be one out of the Central, and then and then you're going to have your 2 or 3 for the NL East and the NL West, and that's a dogfight because you got the Braves, you got the Phillies, you got the Mets.
Right.
You got the Padres, the Diamondbacks, and the Dodgers. I'm not.
And the Giants.
Well, they went and picked up Adames, and that's a good pickup. But what else?
Yeah. You got me.
Yeah, that's just it. I mean, they got a couple of good starters,
Yeah.
But
Logan Webb.
Yeah, I don't see them as the rounded team that they need to be. That's just my opinion. Diamondbacks, on the other hand, strong team. It's funny, we consider ourselves the rivals of the Dodgers, but Diamondbacks to me are kind of become a little bit more of our rivals. We dogfight with them a lot, and we've had some tough games against them.
Well, we're similar in like market size as far as payroll, where the Dodgers the Dodgers are on their own. They're on a completely different level. But I can see that. But it's a Dodge. Obviously, Dodger fans always go, "Why are you always so obsessed with us?" You're the team to beat.
Yeah.
We have to win the division.
Take it as a compliment.
Yeah. To win the division, we have to beat the Dodgers.
Yeah.
I don't understand why they don't get that, but that's who they are. But
well, look, I've been on Twitter or X or whatever you want to call it as much as you have, Jack. Why are they so obsessed with us?
Yeah.
Goes both ways. I mean,
it's funny.
I'm not going to defend the Padre fans who are obsessed with them, but I'm also not ignorant enough or naive enough to look at it and say, well, the Dodger fans are always on Padre post, so why are you so obsessed with us?
But it's funny though, is they no longer say it's not a rivalry.
Yeah.
They used to say, it's not a rivalry, not a rivalry. And I used to say, who cares about a rivalry? I just want to win a World Series. I don't care who the rival is.
Yeah.
I don't care. Seriously, I don't care. I want to. I want to win a World Series. And
I want to make the playoffs. I mean, here we are, spring training. Number one goal: make the playoffs. I don't care how we get there. I don't care for team number 7 or team number 1. It really doesn't matter. That'll change as you get closer, much like it did last year when we were approaching the last month. It's like, we're sitting a little bit out here, but you know what? If we make a run, and we made a pretty good run.
Yeah.
You lose by 3 or 4 games of the division. Nothing wrong with that.
To a super team.
But I'm still just, give me the playoffs. And look, I'm old school like you. It's fun having a team that day in, day out's got a chance to win.
Oh yeah.
This should be a well above 500 team. So, enjoy while you can. My buddy, Mr. Green, who commented here, is Kansas City. He gets to watch those Chiefs, for the last 4 years. And he tells me how much fun it is to be in Kansas City for these games and, and this team because, it brings out the community and everybody's happy and all that kind of stuff. I'm like, yeah, that's what we want. I'll take our weather, but yeah, that's what I want,
I'll take their barbecue.
They got some good barbecue out there. I can attest to that.
Yeah. I've just seen it on anytime they're playing the game. They show and I'm like, oh, I want some barbecue.
Yeah.
But I mean, it does, and it's like the San Diego football club won their first game, and people are going nuts.
Yeah.
The soccer team, and it's just like it's great to see. I mean, it's San Diego. If you get the right owner, they're a sports town.
Yeah.
Like anything else. When you have an owner that sucks and the team sucks, nobody cares. I mean, it's just I don't care what city you're in. Yeah. But I don't know. I'm just maybe it's just because I'm bored and there's nothing on. There's no. I've watched a few spring training games. I don't think today's game was on TV, right?
I have not watched a game yet because they have. Look, I'm not going to change who I am. I've always been a big baseball fan. I am a non-spring training fan. It serves a purpose, but for me to watch it as like I'm some kind of a scout or something, no. I tend to get to the last about week or so, and then I'll watch a few games. But for me to watch some guy that's going to end up in Double-A, that's just not me. for others, maybe, that they want to do that. I know there's a lot of guys that are on X that, they're looking at fastball velocity and bat speed and all that. And I'm just, nah, you know what? Not for me. I'll wait till we get our team and start rooting for them. So.
I do like to watch young players. Not that I'm a scout or anything like that, but I want to say, okay, is the hype worth it? Are they like DeVries? Defensively, I've seen nothing but great things from him defensively. Yeah. Offensively, he's behind. I mean,
I think that's the gist of why I've never really got into it, Jack, is because you got AA pitchers facing major leaguers, and you got, major league pitchers facing AA players, so unless you just really truly start breaking it down by who should be beating who and did they actually beat them or not. They made a big deal out of Forrest Wall because he hit his against a major league pitcher. And it's like, okay, but one at bat, come on. Okay. Yeah. I mean, you put somebody out there with a blindfold and tell them to swing at the right time and hit one over. And does that make him, oh, wow, this guy's got to be on our team now, I go by more by what some of the guys, that know, the guys who watch every day. That's why the Forrest Wall one came up, because I've heard more than one person say this guy looks pretty good. Look at it. Are they saying he's going to be a star, or they, he's made the team? They're just saying no, he looks pretty good.
I've heard people say he could be this year's Profar.
Yeah. So I hope that Schild has a lot of trouble sleeping at night trying to figure out who to keep.
Like I said, me personally, I focus more on the defense.
Yeah.
And I like to watch the pitchers. They got runners at first and second, no out. Can they get out of it? Do they their mental part of the game. It just, but I don't watch the whole game. I'll just watch a few innings and I'll say, okay, this young pitcher's coming in. I'll watch him. Oh, they got DeRise and Salas in there. Okay, I'm going to watch them. But like I said, I'm not a scout. I just want, for myself, I want to say, okay, these people are talking about him. I go, all right, I know a little bit about baseball. So I'm like going, okay, they're overhyping this guy. They're underhyping this guy. But, it's baseball.
Well, and like I said, I don't make it sound like I don't watch any. It usually gets about that last week. And to me, you start getting more of the flavor of, okay, so this is more regulars on regulars. These are, the last, I don't know, half a dozen games. The regulars usually play 5 of them. And they're in there, till the 6th inning instead of, bowing out in the 2nd inning or the second at bat. I think you get a little bit more insight. And they're going against, the Darvishes and the Ceases, and, even if they're not mid-season form, you kind of get a little bit more of a feel for like, okay, we're really getting ready to make the next step. So,
because I know when he came up, and I said, all right, let's see how. I said, all right, wow, the hype is real.
Yeah.
This kid is good. Merrill last year when they were, it's like I didn't expect Merrill to make the team, like most people. He was AA, but when he started,
well, even when he made the team, the expectations were, like he was saying today. He says, where do you want to, you've hit 3rd in a couple of games. You see that as where they're going to hit you, and he goes, I don't care. Again, the baseball IQ. If I'm hitting 3rd, then I'm doing this and this and this and this. But if I'm batting 5th, then I'm doing this and this. I'm a protector versus, and then I got to take pitches. And so he was talking to that for the baseball IQ side of it. But he was saying, it's like, I don't care. He says, last year I started hitting 9th. I went to 8th. I went to 7th. I stayed in 7th for quite a while. Then I moved to 6th. He goes, but it doesn't matter to me. I just, whatever I can do to contribute. And so I remember beginning last year, we can go back to our original podcast and everything. We weren't talking about Merrill like he ended up. We were talking about, well, hopefully he does good.
I can remember.
Hopefully he can, hit 250 and, play good center field.
I can remember saying, I said, if they bring him up, if they keep him, I hope they play him. I don't want him sitting the bench and batting once every 2 weeks. That's not going to help his development. And of course, then boom, he never looked back. So it's like, okay, they knew what they were doing.
But I think, going back to the original, as we're starting to get close to wrap up here, you asked the question, do you think Connor, Joe, and Hayward make the team? And the reason I think they make the team is either A, they're going to start, or B, because of their veteran status, they can handle being off the bench, versus what you're talking about. You bring up an Ornelas and you say, well, we're going to put you on the bench. and we're going to start Connor Joe and Hayward, and we'll get you some at bats. I think if Ornelas makes the team, he's the starting left fielder. I think if Forrest Wall
As it
makes the
should
team,
be.
he's the starting. Yeah, I think most major league teams do that. How many times during the year does a guy get called up and the first thing the manager does is puts him in the lineup? Because why?
Yeah.
Well, I'm not going to have him bring him up and have him sit for 3 days. He's here to take that guy's spot. So let's put him out. Yeah.
You got to see what he can do. I mean, it's just.
Well, we still got 3 weeks to make a decision, or for sure to make a decision.
Young players don't develop on the bench.
Nope, not at all. Not going to gain any confidence either.
No. So, yep, I think I got nothing else to add. I mean, anything else happen in the world of baseball that? I mean,
no,
Trout's
I think we're good. We didn't, we're going to do these every Thursday. Not every episode could be exciting.
No.
I think we did some good spring training. I think next week and the week after we'll start seeing a little bit more, because I believe that usually they get about 2 weeks before spring training and they already start sending some of the guys down to AA and like, okay, you're going down, and they start thinning it down. I think they normally get down to about 32 or 30, and then they get to that last week, and that's when they make those final cuts right before they break.
Yeah, I did want to talk about Mike Trout. They moved him to right field to take some of the pressure off him instead of playing center field. I said, why isn't this guy just DHing? I mean, I get it, but I get it that some players can't do it because it's hard to stay mentally into the game. But I still say that's what helped Ohtani last year. He just had to DH. He didn't have to worry about playing a position. He didn't have to worry about, there's no wear and tear when you're DHing for the most part. And Trout is such a great player, but let's face it, he can't. He's just going to get hurt.
Yeah, it's a great question, Jack. I mean, we will never know the answer. Is it Trout? Kind of I don't think he's that kind of a guy, but is he insisting like, hey, I'm not DHing. I got to be out in the field.
And I get it. It's no fun.
Yeah, it's hard though, because I know personally. I played some softball. I hated DHing. I hated it. It's boring. There's no other way to put it. It's just boring. You sit there and watch the game, and you get one at bat every third inning or second if you're lucky. Some guys do better at it than others. I mean, Rice has made it known, like, I don't want to be the permanent DH. That's not what I want to do.
Yeah.
And I think, much like a lot of the decisions that were made the last couple of years, these guys are team players. I'm sure if it came push to shove, that he'd say, well, if that's all I'm going to get, then yeah, okay, I guess I'll be the best DH you can be.
Yeah, I know.
I think with Trout's speed though and everything, it's just I think it's just such a minus to take him out of the field. But
it's a minus when he's not on the field, when you can't play.
That's true. Because like I said, I can't answer it, Jack. I don't know if it's him.
When you're talking great players, Trout is a great player.
Yeah.
But what's the last 4 or 5 years? It's been, Trout's hurt. Trout's hurt.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not his fault.
6 years, he has not played more than 50, 60, 70 games. Yeah.
But I was like, you were saying, when I was playing adult baseball, I hurt my shoulder. My shoulder was always messed up. But I said, okay, I can't play in the field anymore. So I had to DH. I hated it. I mean, I get it. Especially when only there was no one on the bench with me. I'm like, well, I got no one to talk to. I'm just sitting here. We didn't have iPhones back then.
Move from one side. Like, what do you think about that play?
Yeah,
I thought it sucked. Yeah.
So Zane, I agree with you. I like Rosario, but yeah, I just was thinking when I heard that Mike Trout, I said, dude, just DH again. Yeah. I swear, Ohtani last year I think it's gonna be a lot different when he starts pitching again and everything. I don't know if he'll have the same offensive numbers he had last year. It's hard.
Well, it's hard to say, but again, they're pretty loaded there, so I'm sure there's going to be some games where he can pitch and not even hit. I mean, every team's got their decision makers and what they're going to do. I don't wish bad on anybody. If that's what they choose to do and he throws out his arm, then it's to me it's on him and the Dodgers. They They signed him to do both. So that I think that's part of it is you pay this money out. Your expectations are that he's going to do both.
Yeah, I would if I'm the Dodgers, and of course they don't listen to me. There's no way he'd be permanent DH. He's too valuable an offensive weapon, and to me, he's a good pitcher. Before he got hurt, his second Tommy John surgery. I mean, it's just your arm can only your body when you start hurting things, it can only take so much pain, and that's what Trout's going through. He just keeps. He just can't heal up. He just keeps re-injuring and hurting different things or you start. It's like Dizzy Dean. The story about Dizzy Dean. He broke his toe. And
line drive,
but he kept pitching.
Yeah,
it altered his pitching, and then he tore up his arm.
Yeah,
he was never the same. And people look up Dizzy Dean's stats. He was an amazing pitcher for the Cardinals. Yeah. So, it's just that's how life works. In life, you sprain your ankle. And how do you're changing the way you walk. You're changing the way. So when you're an athlete, you start getting hurt.
Yeah.
I mean, I think baseball is hurt by Mike Trout not being in the lineup every day. He's one of those players. Yeah, I'd pay to go see Mike Trout.
Yeah, I got no more insight. I mean, the bottom line is I don't know if it's him insisting or if Ron Washington's saying I need you to play out there. Truly, the Padres did that with Fernando Tatis. I'm sure there were people out there questioning why don't you DH Fernando? Because of the same thing. He's always getting hurt. There's a certain amount that you understand that, but there's a certain amount that says, look, you're a baseball player, and if you get hurt, then you get hurt. And that's
I was always pushing for Fernando to leave shortstop and go to right field.
I think my big thing with Fernando is that he could make the awesome plays, and he still can. But he made some errors out there.
Oh, yeah.
a lot of more throwing errors. So I think. I personally, I kind of look at it. People are like, with the diving and all that kind of stuff at shortstop, and I'm like, have you seen him go up against the wall a few times? I get more worried about a guy crashing into the barriers and the walls than I do about diving for a ball at short. So
yeah, but
I think short of first base, and I've said this before. I think short of playing first base is probably the only safe position in the whole diamond when you really get down to what can happen to you. Every other one of them's got, a lot more possibilities, whether it's throwing or running or covering, slides and stuff like that. First base, the guy's coming in, he's either going head first down at your feet or, but I mean, really, you're not getting any more injury choices than all the other positions. So, yeah.
I just think shortstop, you got more chances, more plays. Right field, not as many as a shortstop. The catcher, obviously, the catcher and pitcher have the biggest wear and tear. Yeah. But I don't know. We'll see. I just was like, why the hell? I go, this guy cannot stay on the field. Why is he playing right field? Just put him at DH. But that's just me.
Yeah,
that's just me.
That's just you, Jack.
That's just me. I'm sure no one else thought of that. But anyway, that's all I got.
All right.
Thanks for everyone who joined us in the chat. Zane, Michael, and Michael.
And
Michael and Michael.
Yeah.
Michael and Son. It's a company out here in Raleigh where they have the same. Every time you're watching like a baseball game or something, that commercial comes on a local. They do local commercials.
Uh-huh.
And it's like, oh my God, I'm so sick of this commercial. But anyway, and I don't even know what they do.
That's all right. If you watch the Padres out here, because MLB has got the contract, we get the same Padre commercials over and over and over. All the giveaways, it's incessant. It's incessant. I mean, they got to run the same commercial like every inning. You see it 10 times every year. It
used to be they didn't have commercials on MLB Network.
Yeah,
and then I go, well, why don't they just put commercials on there?
Yeah.
Instead of having 2 minutes of just nothing. And I go, and now it's like, okay, I don't mind the commercial, but can we get a different commercial? My God.
Yeah.
Anyway,
All right, bud.
I know we all have our issues in life, and that's my
Yeah.
biggest issue right now is commercials. So
Okay.
anyway, all right, guys, we'll be back next week. Hopefully, Jay will be here.
Yeah.
And I'm sure there'll be more to talk about next week because, well, we're getting closer to the start
And
of the regular
closer
season.
and closer. Yeah. All right, bud.
All right, hasta
Catch you
luego,
guys next time.
and goodbye.